Direct and indirect speech. There are several modes in which other people's language can be reported. The most explicit modes are introduced by reported clause. If the reported clauses introduce the report of the communication, the reported clause may take the form of indirect speech or direct speech. Direct speech gives the exact words that someone utters in a speech or in writing. Indirect speech, on the other hand, conveys in word of subsequent reporter what has been said by the original speaker. David said to me after the dinner, "We should go home." David said to me after the dinner that we should go home. Two secondary modes related to the primary ones are free indirect speech and free direct speech. In both cases there are no reporting clause, but it is the representation of a mental activity which is by its nature unspoken. For example, "I should tell him the truth," I thought to myself. The indirect speech frequently involves paraphrase or summary, and therefore the hearer or reader cannot recognize the original speech or writing. Okay, but now let's go deep into the direct speech. The main characteristic of the direct speech is that it is usually enclosed in quotation marks. Let's have a coffee. Another characteristic is that we may have inversion with the direct speech enclosed after or before the verb. The direct speech behaves also like a main clause, for example in a question or a directive. Mark said, "Where's my wallet?" Finally, we use a direct speech when we have to report something, and the most common verb is say, but we have many others: add, admit, ask, confess, object, report, exclaim, think, and in the literary works we have some less common verbs such as falter, murmur, snap. The indirect speech. Typically, the indirect speech is used to report statements that takes form of a nominal that clause. They said that we should go home. Some reporting verbs in the indirect speech are believe, imagine, mention, recognize, feel, know, realize, suppose. We can use these report verbs to paraphrase or summarize without affecting the essential truth of the report, as the indirect speech approximates as closely as possible to the original. But the hearer or the reader cannot be sure how close the indirect speech is to the original wording. Characteristic of the indirect speech. The main characteristic of the indirect speech is that there is a backshift and a pronoun modification. When the time reference of the original utterance no longer applies at the time that the utterance is reported, it is often necessary to change the tense form. The present, for example, is backshift to the past. "I am happy," she says. She said she was happy. We have to backshift all the tenses. Backshift is optional if the time original sentence is valid at the time reported. For example, "I am the Knight of Gotham." Batman said he's the Knight of Gotham. As the indirect utterance is universal, we don't need the backshift. If we have the backshift, we have also to change the time reference, the demonstrative and the pronoun. For example, yesterday we turned into the day before, now into then, here into there, these into those. We have also indirect statement, exclamation and questions. For the indirect statements we use the that clause. For the indirect questions we have the W clause. And for the indirect directive for the indirect directive clause we use to plus infinitive clause. Here are some examples. "Are you ready?" she asked me. She asked me whether I was ready. "Why are you calling?" She asked me why I was calling. "Open the door." She told me to open the door. "We must go home."